living. Oh, Canada, how you weep. Time to rise, no more sleep. Tyrants fall, break the keep. Take back the north, it's ours to reap.
Hello guys, welcome and thanks for watching. I'm your awesome host, Mr. Transparent. I'll warn you now, if you are woke, you may get offended by this story, and well, frankly, I don't care. Viewer discretion is advised. These days, you don't have to look very hard to see our once wonderful country is under siege by a tyrannical government and a treasonous prime minister, hell-bent on selling out our way of life to foreign interests and woke fringe minority groups. We have been overrun by illegal immigrants who steal from us. Invited immigrants who have no interest in being Canadians, who won't speak our language, and wave the flags of their own country while robbing Canadians who have lived here and paid taxes here for generations of our milk and honey, of our freedoms and heritage. We have a government that is squeezing the life out of Canadians with excessive and questionable taxes, that panders to delusions and calls its citizens terrorists and racists for having a voice and speaking out against untruths. The over 45,000 young men who lost their lives fighting for our freedoms during World War II and the thousands of others who returned home wounded and suffering from undiagnosed PTSD have been sold out. We should all feel shame for allowing this to happen.
The Liberal and NDP coalition in Canada has had a detrimental impact on the country, particularly in terms of diminishing the credibility of the NDP party. This coalition has compromised the core values and beliefs of the NDP, leading to an erosion of trust and credibility among their supporters. One of the key reasons why the Liberal and NDP coalition has ruined Canada is the dilution of the NDP's progressive policies and principles. By aligning themselves with the Liberal Party, the NDP has been forced to compromise on key issues such as social justice and affordable housing. This has alienated many of their supporters who voted for the NDP specifically for their strong stance on these issues. This costly coalition has also tarnished the reputation of the NDP as a party that stands for the working class and marginalized communities. This has resulted in a loss of trust and support for the party, as many feel that the NDP has abandoned their core values in pursuit of political power and handsome pensions. The collaboration between the Liberal and New Democratic Party has created a sense of instability and inconsistency in government policies and decision-making. This has led to a lack of clear direction and leadership, which has further eroded the credibility of both parties in the eyes of the Canadian public. Sellout. Singh has sold out the NDP party and our great country. A vote for the NDP is a vote for Justin Trudeau. We need to save the integrity of our Canadian politics and not allow agents of foreign countries insert puppets to do their bidding.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Smash that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Your support keeps the good vibes coming. Thanks. You're awesome. Now back to the fun.
Are you confident in Jagmeet Singh that he will support or not support this budget moving forward, which would, of course, trickle into an election if he does not support this?
Let's be honest, Jagmeet Singh is only concerned about his pension. I mean, let's cut the crap, right? He has to wait until January of 2025 to be eligible for a pension. So he's worried that if the election happens and he loses, he won't have a pension. So he's making everyone pay the massive bill of keeping Justin Trudeau around so that he can get to pension eligibility and continue to fund his fancy suits and watches and Beamers, and that's what he's all about. It's a greedy position, but that's what you got with Jag and Justin, a costly coalition that tax your food, punish your work, take your money, double your housing costs, and unleash crime and chaos in your community. But when the carbon tax election happens, you'll be able to elect a common sense government that will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime.
On February 14, 2022, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act, an extreme and rarely used measure in Canadian politics.
The federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations.
This decision has caused outrage and concern among many Canadians, as it has been seen as an abuse of power and a violation of democratic principles. The use of the Emergencies Act has had a profound and detrimental impact on Canadian citizens. By invoking this act, Trudeau essentially declared a state of emergency in response to the ongoing protests against vaccine mandates and pandemic restrictions. This move allowed the government to suspend certain civil liberties, such as the right to freedom of assembly and expression, and granted sweeping powers to law enforcement agencies to violate and punish law-abiding citizens. Trudeau's act of treason was not supported by many of our allies.
They are counting on us. So let's use all the tools we have at our disposal.
A prime minister who openly admires the Chinese basic dictatorship, who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists just because they dared to stand up to his perverted concept of democracy, should not be allowed to speak in this house at all. Mr. Trudeau, you are a disgrace for any democracy. Please spare us your presence. Thank you.
This heavy-handed approach has resulted in the arbitrary arrest and detention of peaceful protesters, many of whom have been charged with offenses that carry severe penalties. Furthermore, the government's decision to freeze the bank accounts of those involved in the protests has been widely criticized as a punitive measure that infringes on the rights of individuals to engage in peaceful dissent. The use of the Emergencies Act has also had a chilling effect on freedom of speech and expression in Canada. This erosion of democratic values is deeply concerning and sets a dangerous precedent for future governments to trample on the rights of citizens in the name of maintaining order. In the long term, the damage caused by Trudeau's use of the Emergencies Act may be irreparable. The Supreme Court of Canada later ruled that the use of the Emergencies Act violated the Canadian Charter and was highly illegal. As you guessed, arrests were never made on the public servants who voted to harm us. It is crucial that Canadians remain vigilant and continue to hold their government accountable for its actions, and to prevent further abuses of power and protect the fundamental rights of all citizens.
It is becoming increasingly apparent that a change in the Canadian government is imperative. The current Liberal and NDP parties have failed to effectively address the needs and concerns of the Canadian people, and it is time for new leadership to step in and bring about the necessary reforms. Both the Liberal and NDP parties have demonstrated a tyrannical approach to power at any cost. Both parties voted to enact the Emergencies Act to punish, imprison, and extort from law-abiding, tax-paying citizens whose only crime was standing up to their government. Both parties voted to extort money from Canadians through a shady carbon tax that has resulted in 1 in 5 Canadian families needing to use food banks to feed their families. Both parties voted to release violent, mentally ill criminals back on our streets rather than keeping them behind bars, keeping our children safe. Both parties voted to censor Canadians and violate their rights to freedom of expression. With Bill C-18, both parties continue pandering to fringe minority groups and their mentally ill delusions. All members of the Liberal and NDP parties should resign and be held accountable to the citizens of Canada. Call an election and let Canadians decide your fate, and if you deserve a handsome pension from the pockets of Canadians. The Conservative Party under leader Pierre Poilievre has given us hope that Canada can heal with their common-sense conservative plan moving forward for the country. Let us unite in our call for a new beginning and work together to usher in a conservative government that truly represents and serves the interests of all Canadians. The time for change is now. Traitor Trudeau and this costly coalition want to divide us and instill fear and hate as a smokescreen to hide their corrupt and illegal backdoor dealings. Greek storyteller Aesop wrote in 600 BC, "Together we stand, divided we fall." That holds true still today. Only together can we defeat the minority. Can we defeat tyranny? Thanks for watching. I'm Mr. Transparent. Hit the like and subscribe buttons. Click the bell for notifications, and we will see you next time.